The baby gorilla's scream cut through the morning mist like a knife. Emma Rivers froze mid-step, her hand instinctively moving to the radio on her belt. In 8 years patrolling the Redwood Mountain Wildlife Preserve in Northern California, she'd never heard a sound like that, raw, desperate, almost human. Gorillas don't cry. They grunt, they roar, they chest beat. But they don't sob. Have you ever heard an animal beg for help? The juvenile burst through the undergrowth. No more than 3 years old, tears streaming down its leathery face. It didn't run past Emma. It ran to her. Tiny fingers wrapped around her wrist with shocking strength, tugging, pulling, pleading. Every instinct in Emma's body screamed to step back. Protocol was clear. Never touch, never interfere, maintain distance. She'd followed those rules religiously since the day she watched a colleague lose everything for breaking them. But this baby wasn't following any rules either. What would you do if an innocent life depended on breaking every regulation you'd ever trusted? The gorilla pulled harder, its dark eyes locked on hers, communicating something that made Emma's blood run cold. Something was catastrophically wrong. And somehow, this infant knew Emma was the only one who could help. Before you decide, you need to hear what happened next, because it's going to change everything you think you know about who the real predators are. Hit that like button and let me know. Would you follow? The baby turned and bolted into the restricted zone. Emma followed. The restricted zone existed for a reason. 3 miles of dense forest where researchers had documented aggressive silverback behavior, unstable terrain, and a history of territorial disputes between gorilla families. Rangers were forbidden to enter without backup and explicit authorization from Preserve Command. Emma's radio crackled. Rivers, status report. You're approaching Sector 7 boundary. Her finger hovered over the transmit button. The baby gorilla was already 30 meters ahead, periodically stopping to look back, making sure she was following. Those eyes, God. Those eyes held an intelligence that made Emma's chest tighten. Rivers, do you copy? She switched the radio off. First rule broken. The forest thickened as they climbed, vines creating curtains of green that swallowed sound. Emma's mind raced through justifications. She'd document everything. She'd call for backup once she knew what she was dealing with. She'd file a complete incident report. All the paperwork in the world wouldn't save her if this went wrong. The baby gorilla suddenly stopped, its small body going rigid. A low whimper escaped its throat. Emma smelled it before she saw it, blood, fresh and metallic. Her hand moved to the tranquilizer pistol on her hip, though she knew it would be useless against poachers with real weapons. She pushed through the final barrier of leaves and her world tilted. For gorillas lay motionless in a clearing. The baby's family. Emma dropped to her knees beside the largest body. A female, her chest rising and falling in shallow, sedated breaths. The silverback male lay 10 feet away, tongue lolling, eyes half closed. 2 other juveniles were sprawled in positions that would have been comical if they weren't so terrifying. Nu, nu, nu. Emma's hands shook as she checked pulses, examined pupils. They were alive but heavily drugged. Someone had darted an entire family group. Why sedate them if you're going to kill them? Her training kicked in. She pulled out her camera, documenting everything, positions, injuries, timestamps. The baby gorilla crouched beside its mother, patting her face, trying to wake her. The sound it made cracked something inside Emma's chest. Then she saw the dart. It was lodged in the silverback's shoulder, a yellow and black striped tranquilizer dart identical to the ones locked in the preserve's medical supply room. Emma photographed it from 3 angles, her mind refusing to accept what her eyes were seeing. Only authorized personnel had access to those darts. Only rangers and head veterinary staff. The baby gorilla shrieked a warning cry. Emma spun, reaching for her pistol, but the clearing remained empty. The juvenile was staring at the ground near the tree line, at something Emma had missed in her panic. Footprints. She approached slowly, documenting each step with her camera. boot treads pressed deep into the mud, recent enough that water was still seeping into the depressions. Emma had tracked enough poachers to recognize patterns. These weren't the worn, mismatched shoes of local hunters trying to feed their families. These were professional tactical boots. Expensive ones. Her stomach dropped through the forest floor. Those boots. She'd seen them 100 times. Altera Tactical Series, the same brand issued to senior preserve staff. The same boots worn by her supervisor, Chief Ranger Cole Brennan. The same boots Emma had complimented just last week because they were supposed to be indestructible. Think, Emma. Think. There had to be another explanation. Stolen equipment. Black market supplies. Someone impersonating preserve staff. Except the darts weren't black market. They were from this month's inventory, coded with a batch number that wouldn't exist outside official channels. Do you see it yet? The walls closing in? Drop a comment if you've ever realized the people you trusted most were the ones you should have feared. Emma's radio buzzed to life despite being switched off. An emergency override. All units be advised. Unauthorized personnel reported in Sector 7. Ranger Rivers is not responding. Assume armed poachers in the area. Lethal force is authorized. Her blood turned to ice. Lethal force. Against poachers. They thought she was the threat. Or worse, they were making sure anyone who found her would shoot first and ask questions later. The baby gorilla tugged her pant leg. Urgent. Insistent. It pointed deeper into the restricted zone, then back at its sedated family. The message was clear. There's more and we're running out of time. Emma made a choice that would either save these animals or destroy her life. She knelt beside the silverback and checked the dart's dosage marker. Professional-grade sedative, calculated for body weight. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. They'd wake up in approximately. She checked her watch, 45 minutes. The gorillas should have already been gone. Loaded onto trucks, transported to holding facilities, vanished into the illegal wildlife trade before anyone knew they were missing. But they were still here, which meant something had disrupted the schedule. Or someone. Emma looked at the baby gorilla, at its tear-streaked face and desperate eyes. You weren't supposed to get away, were you? The juvenile's escape had thrown off the entire operation. They'd probably chased it, wasted precious time trying to recapture it. And in that chaos, the baby had done the one thing poachers never anticipated. It had found the one ranger who didn't know the plan. Emma's radio crackled again. Rivers, if you can hear this, stand down. Return to base immediately. This is not a request. That was Chief Ranger Cole Brennan's voice. The man who'd mentored Emma for 8 years. Who'd written her performance reviews. Who'd recommended her for the head ranger position. The man whose boot prints were pressed into the mud beside a sedated gorilla family. Emma photographed the prints again, this time with a preserve-issued ruler in frame for scale. Evidence. She needed evidence that couldn't be dismissed or explained away. Her camera roll was already sinking to the cloud. If something happened to her, if they took her equipment, the images would survive. The mother gorilla's eyelid twitched. They were starting to wake up. The baby saw it too, rushing to its mother's side, patting her face with renewed hope. Emma checked the silverback, pupils responding, breathing deepening. Maybe 20 minutes until full consciousness, which meant the poachers would be back any moment to finish the job. Emma had 3 options. Run back to base and report everything through proper channels, knowing those channels were compromised. Stay here and try to protect 4 sedated gorillas with a single tranquilizer pistol. Or follow the baby deeper into the restricted zone and find out what else was waiting in the darkness. What's your gut telling you right now? Comment, stay, or follow, and let's see if we're thinking the same thing. The baby gorilla was already moving, glancing back every few steps. It knew Emma was deciding. It knew she might abandon them. Somewhere in the distance, an engine rumbled to life. Emma looked at the sedated family, at the evidence she documented, at the baby gorilla waiting for her to choose courage over protocol. 8 years of playing by the rules. 8 years of watching colleagues get destroyed for stepping out of line. 8 years of telling herself that the system worked, that following procedure kept everyone safe. The system had just tried to authorize her execution. She stood up, checked her pistol, and followed the baby into the forbidden territory. Behind them, the mother gorilla's eyes began to open. And somewhere ahead, Emma was about to discover that the sedated family was just the beginning, that what waited deeper in the forest would expose a conspiracy reaching so far beyond preserved boundaries that her choice to follow this baby gorilla would either save an entire species or get her killed before sunrise. The baby gorilla moved with purpose now, no longer checking if Emma followed. It knew she'd made her choice. They descended into a ravine Emma had never seen on any preserve map, the kind of terrain that doesn't exist in official documents because acknowledging it would require explaining why patrols never venture here. The air grew colder, damper. Fungi bloomed on fallen logs in colors that seemed too bright, too deliberate. Emma's boots slipped on moss-covered rocks. Her camera banged against her chest with each step. Evidence. She needed more evidence. Enough to bypass Chief Ranger Brennan entirely and go straight to the International Conservation Board. Except, and this thought made her hands go numb, what if the corruption went higher than Brennan? The baby gorilla stopped at the edge of a makeshift trail, freshly cut through the undergrowth. Vehicle tracks carved deep ruts in the mud. Recent. Very recent. Emma photographed the tire treads, noting the width and pattern. Heavy-duty transport vehicles, probably trucks with reinforced beds for large cargo. For gorillas, have you ever felt the ground shift beneath your feet when you realized everything you believed was a lie? Hit that subscribe button because this goes deeper than either of us expected. She activated her radio's emergency beacon, the one that transmitted her GPS coordinates to preserve headquarters regardless of whether the radio was on or off. If something happened to her, at least there'd be a record of where she'd been. Static crackled in her ear. Emma Rivers. Chief Ranger Cole Brennan's voice, calm and measured. I know you can hear me. I know you found the gorillas. And I know you're confused right now. Emma's finger hovered over the transmit button. Don't respond. Don't give away your position. You've always been a good ranger, Emma. By the book. That's why I chose you for Sector 7. That's why I trusted you. Pause. But you've stumbled into something you don't understand. Something that's bigger than both of us. The baby gorilla tugged her sleeve, urgent, frantic. They needed to keep moving. There are people who need those gorillas alive, Emma. Important people. Conservation people. The kind who fund our salaries, who keep this preserve operational. You think the government pays for all this? You think donations from tourists cover advanced medical equipment and tactical training? Emma's stomach churned. Keep talking, Brennan. Keep confessing on a recorded channel. Those 4 gorillas in the clearing? They're going to a private sanctuary. Top-tier care, breeding programs, genetic preservation. They'll live like royalty while their wild cousins starve because we can't afford to expand protected territories. This is conservation, Emma. Just not the kind they teach in textbooks. And because I know you're recording this, yes, Emma, I know how you think. Let me be clear. I'm standing in the communications room right now. Every transmission you've made, every photo you've uploaded to the cloud, every GPS ping from your emergency beacon, I'm watching it in real time. Emma's blood turned to ice. The clouds sink. The evidence she thought was safely backed up. We control the servers, Emma. Preserve IT routes everything through headquarters before it touches the outside world. Your photos? Already deleted. Your location data? Currently showing you on the complete opposite side of the preserve. Chasing a false poaching report I'm about to file. The radio went dead. Emma stood frozen, her mind racing through implications. Everything she'd documented, worthless. Her GPS beacon compromised. The evidence that was supposed to protect her was actually a tracking device leading them straight to her location. She ripped the radio from her belt and threw it into the ravine. The baby gorilla bolted forward, and Emma ran after it, branches whipping her face, lungs burning. They had minutes, maybe seconds before. The first gunshot cracked through the forest canopy. Emma dove behind a fallen log, her heart hammering against her ribs. The baby gorilla scrambled beside her, eyes wide with terror. Not tranquilizer darts this time. Real bullets. Lethal force authorized. Rivers. A voice called out, not Brennan's. Younger. Familiar. Chief says you've gone rogue. Says you're working with poachers. Emma recognized that voice. It was Tyler Mason, a junior ranger who'd started 6 months ago. A good kid. Earnest. Eager to prove himself. Exactly the kind of person who'd follow orders without question. They're lying to you, Tyler, Emma shouted. Check the sedated gorillas in Sector 7. Check the darts. They're ours. Another gunshot, closer this time. They weren't trying to arrest her. They were trying to silence her. The baby gorilla suddenly launched itself from behind the log, shrieking with rage, charging directly at the unseen shooter. No! Emma lurched forward, but the juvenile was already gone, vanishing into the undergrowth with the kind of speed only terror could produce. The shrieking intensified, not from the baby, but from multiple gorillas. The family. They'd woken up, and they'd followed the baby's cries. Chaos erupted in the forest. Men shouting. A scream of genuine pain. The silverback's roar shook leaves from trees. More gunshots, wild and panicked. Emma crawled forward, using the confusion to gain ground. She emerged at the edge of a hidden compound. For trucks. 2 metal cages already loaded with sedated gorillas. Not from the family she'd found, but others. Different groups. A staging area for multiple captures. Solar panels powered refrigeration units. Medical equipment. Sedation drugs organized in military-style efficiency. And standing beside the lead truck, checking a tablet, was Dr. Rebecca Hart. Not just involved. Based on the tablet in her hands and the way the other men deferred to her, she was running the operation. Dr. Hart, the woman who'd inspired Emma to become a ranger, who'd taught her to track, to document, to see gorillas not as animals but as individuals with personalities and families, who'd spent 30 years advocating for mountain gorilla protection. She looked up, directly at Emma's hiding spot, and smiled sadly. I wondered when you'd make it here, she called out. Brennan said you'd follow protocol. I told him you'd follow your conscience. Looks like I know you better. Emma stood slowly, hands visible. Why? Because conscience doesn't pay for insulin, Emma. She gestured to the compound. This operation funds the real conservation work. The boring, unglamorous work that doesn't get celebrity endorsements or viral videos. Land acquisition, anti-poaching patrols, medical care for injured gorillas. By trafficking healthy ones? By creating a sustainable economic model. 10 gorillas in private sanctuaries fund protection for hundreds in the wild. Does trolley problem ethics, Emma? You pull the lever or everyone dies. The baby gorilla emerged from the forest, flanked by its family. The silverback's shoulder was bleeding, grazed by a bullet, but the fury in its eyes promised violence. Tyler and 2 other rangers appeared behind Dr. Hart, weapons raised but uncertain. They'd seen the compound. They'd heard the conversation. The doubt on their faces was clear. Stand down, all of you, Dr. Hart ordered. Rivers is emotional, but she's not stupid. She knows how this ends. What would you do in Emma's position? Comment your answer. I need to know if you see the same impossible choice she's facing right now. Emma looked at the baby gorilla, at the family that had woken up and fought back, at the young rangers who'd been manipulated into becoming accessories. She thought about the photos that no longer existed, the evidence that had been erased, the system that was designed to protect itself rather than the animals it claimed to serve. Her career was over. Her freedom was forfeit. But she still had one thing they couldn't take away. The truth, spoken out loud, witnessed by people who'd have to decide whether to repeat it or bury it. Dr. Rebecca Hart is trafficking protected gorillas, Emma said clearly, loudly, making eye contact with each ranger. Chief Ranger Cole Brennan is her accomplice. The Preserve Administration is compromised. And every single one of you has a choice right now about who you're going to be. Tyler's weapon wavered.
Die harte sat smile weidand.
You think this is an accident, Emma? You think we didn't know the baby would escape? We let it go. We needed to know if there was anyone in the Ranger Corps who couldn't be bought, threatened, or convinced. Someone who'd follow the rules even when breaking them made more sense. She pulled out her tablet, showing her a list of names. Rangers, veterinarians, admin staff, check marks beside most names. Red X's beside 3. Emma's name topped the list of red X's. We've been testing everyone for months. Small compromises. Looking the other way. Accepting gifts. You failed every test, Emma. You stayed honest. She shook her head. In this world, that makes you the liability. The compound fell silent except for the baby gorilla's soft whimpering. Dr. Hart raised her hand, and Emma knew the signal she was about to give. The Ranger's weapons lifted in unison. Then the silverback charged. Not at Emma. Dr. Hart. The massive gorilla crossed the compound in 3 explosive strides, scattering Rangers, overturning equipment. The baby and its family followed. A coordinated assault that chaos couldn't begin to describe. In the confusion, Emma ran. Not away from the compound, but toward the trucks. Toward the cages with the other sedated gorillas. Toward the one piece of evidence they couldn't erase, living, breathing proof of the trafficking operation. She released the cage locks. 6 gorillas spilled out into the compound, groggy but mobile. The family groups recognized each other, calling out, regrouping. Tyler dropped his weapon, hands raised in surrender. Not to Emma, but to the silverback approaching him with measured, intelligent rage. The world needs to see this, Emma shouted, pulling out her phone, her personal phone, not connected to preserve systems. She started filming. Dr. Rebecca Hart, Chief Ranger Cole Brennan, and unnamed international buyers are trafficking mountain gorillas under the guise of conservation. A gunshot rang out. Pain exploded in Emma's shoulder, spinning her around. Dr. Hart held a pistol, her sad smile replaced with cold calculation. The world will see what we let them see, she said. But she'd made one mistake. Emma's phone had been live-streaming to her brother's social media account for the past 90 seconds. 10,000 followers, conservation activists, journalists, people who'd already screen-recorded the footage before it could be deleted. The baby gorilla appeared at Emma's side, pressing against her leg, its tiny hand wrapping around her fingers as blood soaked through her shirt. "It's okay," Emma whispered. To the baby or to herself, she wasn't sure. They're going to know. Everyone's going to know. Sirens wailed in the distance. Not preserve vehicles. National police. International wildlife authorities. Someone watching the live stream had made calls. Dr. Hart heard them too. For the first time, fear cracked through her composed exterior. The baby gorilla looked up at Emma with those impossibly deep eyes. And in that moment, she understood. It hadn't just been seeking rescue. It had been choosing an ally. Testing her just as surely as Dr. Hart had. And Emma had passed. If the story hit you, smash that like button and share it everywhere. This isn't just entertainment. This is the choice we all face. Stay silent in broken systems, or burn them down and build something better. Drop a comment telling me which you'd choose, because I guarantee your answer reveals more about you than you think. And subscribe, because the truth doesn't stop being uncomfortable just because we look away. The sirens grew louder. The baby gorilla didn't let go. And Emma Rivers, bleeding and ruined and free, finally understood what courage actually cost.